Welcome back to the plot. We've had quite a lot of rain over the last couple of weeks, and that's had an effect of pancaking this down, and it's a good opportunity though to actually get all the debris out, because what happens is all the water comes down and all the debris and everything else, little bits of stone, any bits of plastic and everything else, all get washed up to the surface. So it's a good opportunity to actually get all that debris out. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just going over each one of the beds, and then I'm just going to hoe them over gently, because what actually happens is that during the this time it's starting to warm up, and I can see odd little tiny weed seeds, a little tiny one here coming up. So I'll take the opportunity to give the beds a light hoe over the top to actually make sure that any weeds that are in there are actually all taken care of. So let's get on with today's tasks and start with a little bit of light hoeing. So I'm not going to go too heavy on it. I'm just really breaking up the surface just to stop any of those seeds that are already in there. Weed seeds and any other bits and pieces. It also gives the opportunity to just pick out, just break the surface up, because it's got a bit pancaked with all the rain we've been having. And just make sure that anything that's growing in there is actually disturbed and won't take root. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to put some beetroot in this end, and then what we'll do is we're still getting some quite cold nights, so I'm going to just put those in there, and we'll just cover it over a little bit of fleece for the time being for the next few nights until they get established, and then we'll take those out. So I've got a combination of beetroot here. There's some down this end here which I've just grown in the polytunnel. Probably put these radish in as well. And then also I've been trying out using these little coir plugs at home. So I just hollowed them out, put one seed in each. So let's have a look. We've got two varieties. One is Bolt Hardy and one is Cylindra. So just going to use my old trusty dibber, which I made out of a broken off tool. Just going to create a few holes. And put those in. And these are the Bolt Hardy ones. And should just be a case of just drop those in. Just going to drop these ones in there. These are actually ones where I put a single beetroot seed in each coir pellet, and the ones that are in the tray are multi-sown ones. So I think we've got enough for 2 rows of those. So this is a perfect for this, because it's exactly the same size as the coir pellets. Just drop those in there. One left over. What should we do with that one? Well, let's put that at the end of the next row. And we're just gonna, afterwards, we're gonna firm those in. We're just giving them the light watering over. And then we've got 5 that are coming a slightly bigger hole, and those are the Bolt Hardy ones that are going to be coming out of this tray. So the Bolt Hardy ones are these ones, and what we'll do is we'll mark either side of those, so we know there's 3 rows. So there we have it, some beetroot in, and I've put the radish in the end there. So that's that sown. I'm going to get a bit of fleece later and just put that over the top because we are still getting some quite cold nights. But for the time being, let's go and have a look at the rest of the plot. So I took the advantage of having some black ball paint, and we've drawn a picture of the plot. So that's the brassica cage, polytunnel, all the different beds. Just need to fill in there beetroot and radish, and a list of jobs to do. So next on the list, I think we will look at the rhubarb flowers. So we've had a couple of nice crops off the forced rhubarb. I'll put a little clip up about that. While we're down here, I'm going to take the opportunity to harvest some of the forced rhubarb, so that'll make a nice pie or crumble in the coming weeks. So let's get some of that harvested. But here we are on the actual main other rhubarb. As you can see, it's starting to develop these flower stalks. So we need to get rid of those. So we don't want it to go in, put on any flowers. So just going to get in there, get down as low as possible on the stalk, and chop those ones out. And that's all you need to do really, is just to make sure that it concentrates its strength into growing nice leaves and nice rhubarb, and not into flowering. Although the rhubarb flowers are very pretty when they come up, they're actually not needed for us, so they will go, and we'll carry on growing some nice rhubarb. So here inside the polytunnel, we've had this box in place, just helping us with the germination, but I think now it's got to the point now where I can protect most things with some fleece or some covers, and this is actually becoming more of a pain and a hindrance than anything else. So just gonna clear this away. I'm going to take this off site because it is literally horrible stuff as soon as it starts to degrade. And I don't want all these little bits of polystyrene everywhere, so we're going to take that down. And as I say, we've got lots of these covers and stuff that can go over stuff to protect stuff for the time being, but just means that I can clear out in here, can open this space up a bit, and means I can actually get on and sort these out, because this tray is a little bit wet because it's a little bit of rain's been dripping from the roof. So now we can open this space up, and eventually this is where we're going to have all our pepper plants up on here. Then all the tomatoes down this side, cucumbers down this side. So we'll get on and we'll break this up. Let's have a quick focus in actually on the where we are with the little seedlings. So down at the end here we've got our cabbages and our kales, and also some cauliflower and bits and pieces. And down here on the far side we've got some leeks. On this side we've got leeks, and this side we've got some shallots that are all coming up through, and they all look good. Let me show you the peas. These are the peas that we sowed the other day into some guttering pipes. They're all looking good and healthy and all coming up, so we can keep the cover off of those. And let's have a quick check on the potatoes. So these are the annual ones that you see just starting to come through, and I think the Aaron Pilot ones are starting just to come through. So these are the salad ones, and the first is a little bit more show on the other Aaron Pilot one there. And I think underneath here somewhere on one of these other buckets I did see the other day when I was looking around, I won't disturb it too much, is the Pentland Javelin starting to come through. But these are all our potato buckets in here. That's all up to the first days, and we've got another set the other side. So we'll be looking to put those out in the next couple of weeks. But let's nip over to the what is currently a massacre. So as I alluded to the other day, the only problem with brassica cages like this is that, as well as actually keeping everything out, anything that actually is already in here is actually going to survive and not have any predators. So we put these fly papers up, and as you can see, it's a bit of a massacre. It's a bit more of a massacre down at the far end. I don't know if you can see down here. So this is literally all the flies and everything else that have come out of the soil that's already in here. I mean, there might be a few that are making their way in, but these are all just stuff that was already in the soil. So we're just going to try and eradicate those around the place. So all the onions there are doing all right, and coming around, all the 4 different beds are doing all right. I don't think there's any sign of the carrots yet. Woodlouse in there. No sign of the carrots coming up through, but we'll keep an eye on those. One thing we did notice the other day was does seem to be a little bit of it's down here, bindweed type sort of stuff keeps coming up through. So we'll just keep an eye on that, and as soon as we see any, we'll chop some off and pull it out, and eventually over the period of time it will actually lose its strength. The little tulips that we showed over the back, they're all starting to go over now, so I just need to deadhead those. But the good news is that all the ones on this side just starting to bulb up. So I'm expecting some nice tulips to come up in the meantime, and let's just nip over to the buckets of tulips that we did and see how they're doing. So these are the buckets of bulbs that we put in, and as you can see, the top daffodils have all come out, and there is a load of more coming through. And as you can see, one of those little baby ones that we have over the other side is in this bucket as well. So it'll be interesting to see which bulbs come up through after these ones. Quick update on the strawberries, they are coming through absolutely fine. And a quick pan along all the crocus, and they're looking beautiful. I'm going to have this bed all netted over, and down in the bottom here I've just got some onion sets. Now it's a bit late for getting onion sets in, but they were sort of bonus onion sets. I was clearing out the polytunnel, and I found a box and opened the box, and in there were some leftover onion sets. So I whack those in there and see how they do. Now let me give you a quick example when we on the plot about planting plants in the right locations and the right environments, because there's an interesting example, and I'll show you that now. So here we are in one of the cold frame boxes, and at the back here are all the spinach that we put in that were ones that were in the polytunnel and were growing in there, and we saved when we put all the potato buckets in. And as you can see, there's a lot of yellowing on the end of the leaves, and they're really starting to shoot up and go to flower. And to be fair, they're looking not too bad today, because I've had the cover off, but they're really getting really leggy, and the leaves are starting to really go over. And that's basically because spinach doesn't like to be too hot. It's a sort of, it doesn't thrive well when it's hot. It will go to run to seed. And these boxes do get quite warm during the day, especially when it's sunny. Although they keep the temperature nice in the evenings, they do get really too hot if I haven't got down here first thing to actually uncover them. Let's go and have a look at the spinach that I put into one of the beds. So this is some spinach that we planted into this bed end of last year. And as you can see, this is the sort of spinach that you want to be picking. It's got a bit big there, but these are the lovely leaves that you want to be picking for your spinach and salad. And they're nice compact plants, and they're growing out, and just harvesting and picking off a few leaves here and there. They've gone a bit big here, but it's just a demonstration really of the fact that if you put the plant in the wrong environment, and at the moment, early on in the season, the cold frames at the back there were perfect for it, because it was keeping it nice and protecting it from the frost, so the leaves weren't getting too damaged, and we got great harvest off of that. But now the temperatures are warming up a bit, it's far too warm in there, and we have had the covers on just because of the winds and everything else lately, but those beds really just need to be uncovered now, because as you can see, the spinach that's in the actual bed is producing a much nicer, denser, bushier plant than the ones that are getting too hot, which essentially are going over now. So it's all about right temperature, right place. So for me, the beginning of April is always the most frustrating time as part of being an allotment owner, and that is because we've done all the prep of the site over the winter, so everything's up and ready and all the beds are ready to put stuff into. We've got a few seeds going in the polytunnel. We've got tons and tons of tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers all growing at home, and they're taking up increasingly amounts of space. There's only so much windowsill you can have in a house, and they take up increasingly large amounts of space. What starts off as a small tray of tomatoes then gets potted onto a larger tray, and before you know it, you've got like half a room of tomatoes and cucumbers. But it's still a little bit too chilly at night. The temperatures will still drop to 2 or 3 degrees in the next couple of weeks, and out here in the actual allotment environment, temperatures seem to drop like sort of at least a degree or two, if not more, beyond what they are in the actual town centres. So it's a waiting game really. So next couple of weeks it's just a lot of potting on of stuff and protecting stuff until we can sort of properly get going. The soil's starting to warm up. I can feel that down here. I mean, on the surface it's really hot, but if you put your finger down into the soil, you can still feel, I've only got to go down a finger's depth and I can still feel that all the moisture is still in there. It's still cold, so it's not the ideal environment yet. We need to warm these beds up, and hopefully that'll happen with longer days over the coming weeks. Interestingly, I'd say the other thing though I love about allotment life is we came down yesterday and there were a couple down on a allotment site just down from me down the bottom there, and they needed a shed moving. They were getting a new shed and they were moving their old shed from one allotment site to another. So a whole gang of us got together and using wood and rails and stuff, we managed to actually get this shed moved over. And today when I popped down, come rushing over and gave me a bottle of wine to say thank you. I did tell them yesterday I didn't want anything. It was thanks enough just helping out, but they obviously wanted to say thank you to everybody, and they insisted that I got a bottle of wine. So that is one of the things I love most about allotments, is just the community spirit, the actual chatting to people and doing everything else, and helping out and sharing tips and generally just jabbering away to each other and whiling away the days and everything else, just meeting with people with like minds in a lovely environment like this. So that's about all for me for today. Over the coming weeks we'll be potting, I'd say we'll be potting on the tomatoes and getting those growing, and then we'll also be having a go at something I've never done before, is grafting some tomatoes onto some rootstock. So if you want to see that, don't forget, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you again soon.